Tetragrammatin.
I came in here in 56,
56.
right after high school. I sort of identified with Grapes of Wrath in a little bit because I came from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You know, Bible Belt, Jim Crow laws and all that. But we had a little bit of a progressive introduction to world of music through doo-wop, Clyde McPhatter and, you know, Lieber Stoller. And,
It's like prototype rock and roll, sort of.
yeah. I guess what do they say? Rocket 88,
Yeah.
you know, Jackie Branston.
Yeah.
And
They say Rocket 88 was the very first rock record.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true, but it's interesting.
I don't either, but I take it as what a lot of people think. So,
Yeah.
But we listened to music like that, and it was a little bit dark, and, you know, parents didn't like us for that. But classic kind of parent-child growing up type thing.
Yeah.
Wanted to leave and go to some place where I could go to an art school, and I thought about New York or Chicago, Kansas City maybe, or LA. And I picked this because I'd visited here before, and New York too cold,
Yeah.
Chicago too cold.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of palm trees and this life, you know.
It was a bold choice because really most artists at that time would probably go to New York, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like 9 out of 10 or 99 out of 100?
Well, they go here and there, and then a lot of people had the idea that if you're going to be an artist, you can do something commercial so you can make a living at it. And then there's Hallmark cards in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So Kansas City Art Institute welcomed a lot of people like that. And
Didn't Warhol started as a commercial artist?
yeah, he was an accomplished commercial artist.
Yeah.
Before he got into painting.
Yeah.
And he was an exceptional person for that.
Mm.
But New York was, you know, a lot was happening back there in the 50s with abstract expressionists and de Kooning and Franz Klein and all these people, Adolf Gottlieb.
Was that at the time that you were moving out here, that was still happening in New York?
It was still happening, yeah. And we got drift of that in our art school. I thought I wanted to be a sign painter.
Yeah.
And so I went to enroll in Art Center School over on 3rd Street, and their quotas were all filled, so I took the second best, and I went to Chenard, which was better for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was much better. And Art Center had a dress code. You couldn't wear any affectation of a beatnik. You know, you couldn't wear
facial hair.
Facial hair of any kind, no good. And you couldn't have a mustache. You couldn't take a bongo drum to school.
It's funny for an art school, right?
Well, it is, totally. I mean, it's much different today than it was back then. But they actually said, you can't wear sandals to school.
Yeah.
And you can't wear a beret. You know, no affectations.
Yeah.
And it was a commercial school, but then Chenard, on the other hand, was totally opposite that. You could dress and act like you wanted to in any way and get away with everything.
What was the experience of art school at that point in time?
I was in advertising design classes and general design classes and painting classes and drawing and then they had another class called Visual World, studying the eye and everything that means. And I was lucky enough to be with a bunch of students who I jived with.
Yeah.
And we kind of inspired each other. Actually, it even got to the point of being competitive. And that was okay.
Yeah.
And we had good instructors too. We had Robert Irwin and Billy L. Bankston, John L. Toon, and Emerson Wolfer was a good teacher. We got into this whole thing about abstract expressionism, and painting on a canvas that's blank, face the blank canvas with colors and brushes. So we all sort of worked towards that. And then I got out of feeling like I wanted to be in commercial art, and so I wanted to be in fine arts and painting and that sort of thing. Do just, I don't know, make crazy pictures that are preconceived.
Yeah.
I'd had an idea in my head before I started it,
Yeah.
rather than facing a blank canvas.
And has it always been that way for you? That it's always preconceived and then you execute it?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, but other things will sneak in too. Whatever the circumstance of the moment is can influence me too.
From your initial imagination to the finished piece, how different might it be?
Well, sometimes it's surprisingly different, but mostly I follow a course, and sometimes that is just spontaneous and kind of look at the world and the contents of the world and everything that's happening in it, and then just piddle with it.
Yeah.
Just mess with the stuff that they give us.
Can you think of a specific example of working on something and it changing?
I think early on when I was in school, I kind of lived on Spam for a while. And I loved the lettering on Spam. I had a personal connection to this. The shape of the can, it had a weird little thing. You don't see too many products being sold in that rounded corner metal containers anymore. I don't think you see that much, but it's
I
all
don't think so.
plastic out.
Yeah.
Something told me, you got to make a picture out of this. So I painted that real big, like 6 feet across.
The logo.
But yeah, Spam. So things like that, things that I, experienced just in everyday life.
Yeah.
And that's my subject matter. And it's been kind of like that. I mean, off and on, go zigzag this way and that way,
You come in contact with a lot of stuff over the course of your life. What makes the one, this is the thing that's going to be the painting? What's the spark that you recognize?
A lot of times it's just a notion that comes from the sky or from the ground or somewhere you wonder where it is, and then you just take it with blind faith and carry on through with it. And I found that to be true.
Yeah.
With a lot of my work, is that I get a notion or something pulls at me, and then I go at it that way. I mean, I don't have a game plan or a method particularly, and it's a mysterious kind of phenomenon, this, creating things.
You feel like
Thank you for your book, by the way. I got it in again. Really good. Yeah.
it resonated?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You know that feeling.
Yeah. Don't discard those things that you've already discarded or something.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. They surprise you later on, see something you didn't see. Just picturing, you have a notion that something's going to be interesting, then you decide to engage with it. How do you pick the materials to use, for example?
A lot of it is habit, and the fact that paint seems to be okay as a source, as a material to use, and printmaking okay, the same thing. A piece of charcoal, a pencil, these are kind of established things, and I got onto them real early, and they don't seem to have changed that much. But I mean, there is a lot of things that are happening in the art world now that, I mean, they're using computers and they're doing all kinds of insane things that I'm not ready to step up to.
Yeah.
And
so, if it's not broken, you don't need to fix it.
Yeah,
It's like you
don't need.
Tell me about the Ferus Gallery. What was that like?
It was really an astounding kind of group of artists that got together and under the guise of one man named Walter Hopps. We all called him Chico, and he created this gallery and got a space over on La Cienega.
It was a storefront?
Yeah, and the place is still there, but not the gallery.
Yeah.
But it was, I think, back in the 50s or 60s, it was, you know, they had to come up with $50 a month rent, you know, so. And, but they had a complete lineup of really great artists, and they showed Andy Warhol's first exhibit of Campbell soup cans, you know, those. And then they had Giorgio Morandi paintings there, and they had Kurt Schwitter's German Dadaist artist, and that made little collages from train receipts that he'd find on the floor, you
I
know.
didn't know they had Morandi. I thought
Yeah.
of them more as American artists.
They were. I mean, it was, but they also had a appreciation for people like that, and
That's amazing.
yeah, a lot of contemporary artists at the time, like Billy L. Bankston and John L. Toon, Robert Irwin, Ed Moses, Craig Kaufman, Ken Price, and a lot of that sort of interwove with surfing and the, you know, beach lifestyle. And most of these artists were living in Venice. I was mostly in Hollywood on Western Avenue about that time, but I lived in Echo Park and around there, so I never really got out to Venice until later on, and I had a studio out there. But anyway, Ferus was, it was a hot spot. Then Monday night was the openings. People would flock to Ferus.
They have one every Monday?
Yeah, every Monday night, and you'd walk from gallery to gallery on La Cienega, and then up the street, and you'd go to Barney's Beanery.
Oh,
So
cool.
people would hang out there.
Yeah.
Ed Keenholz, he was one of the first artists that showed there and that actually created that gallery. So he was one of the owners of the gallery. And Wally Berman.
Yeah. Did you know him?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
he
was a
great.
good
I'm a
friend.
fan.
But did you ever know him? Or no?
No. I'm just a fan of the work.
Yeah. But he was something else. And then there a little bit of the cinema world got involved in it, and Dennis Hopper was one of the first people to come around and actually buy works from the gallery, and he bought my first painting. And
The first painting you ever sold was to him.
yeah.
Great.
And Dean Stockwell, there's quite a few people from the movie business, but I was always surprised that there weren't more people in the movie business that were interested in art, you know.
Is this how you hold life sacred?
Vincent Price, he was an art collector.
Yeah.
And he had a real good taste and all that. So did Edward G. Robinson.
Now, how can anybody jump off a slow-moving train like that with any kind of expectation that he would kill himself?
People like that. But they didn't touch young artists, you know. Russ Tamblyn was another artist. And I still see, I went to his 90th birthday party the other day.
Amazing.
Yeah. He was one of those people that was kind of under the sphere of Wally Berman. George Herms was another artist that was right there, and he's still alive.
On the Monday nights when you would go, would you say it was mostly artists?
It was a lot of people interested in the scene, and a lot of these people, they might end up buying art. I mean, if it was over $50, forget it. I mean, you couldn't, they were not interested in it, but it was a lively bunch of people that were they all had their individual voices. You know, each one of them had their own unique kind of thing. They were not really, you couldn't say their work all looks alike, because it didn't.
No.
Each one was entirely different.
Even when you describe them, it's interesting imagining them all hanging out together, because I think of them in different ways.
Yeah.
Would you say in the whole scene were there a few hundred people or a few thousand people at that time?
I would say a few hundred people.
Yeah, so it's
to be safe.
Small local scene.
Yeah, it was. It was small, local, but people knew about it, and people from New York knew that whatever's happened in LA, it's really going to be maybe the Ferus Gallery.
How do you think that New York knew about it?
Word just spread in little ways, but they knew what was happening. And then a man named Irving Blum, who's still alive, he was partnered with Walter Hopps, and Irving took the gallery over eventually. And Walter went on to be he was the director of the Smithsonian and the Corcoran Gallery in Washington. And
Wow.
the international scene sort of opened up when Marcel Duchamp had his first gallery show in his life. I think it was like, he was like 65 years old. And Walter Hopps gave him this show at the Pasadena Art Museum. So that was a big thing. And all the artists went there, and it was really a notable event in the art world.
Do you think if Walter Hopps didn't do that Duchamp show when Duchamp was 65, maybe our perception of Duchamp might have been different now? Was it important that that was seen?
I think so. It was eventually going to happen no matter what. And so if Walter hadn't done it, I mean, someone else would have a big museum, maybe like, I mean, a lot of his work is owned by the Philadelphia Museum. And, but he's, you know, highly respected and a real curious phenomenon to anybody who makes art, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like him because he didn't paint pretty pictures, you know.
LMNT, Element Electrolytes. Have you ever felt dehydrated after an intense workout or a long day in the sun? Do you want to maximize your endurance and feel your best? Add Element Electrolytes to your daily routine. Perform better and sleep deeper. Improve your cognitive function. Experience an increase in steady energy with fewer headaches and fewer muscle cramps. Element Electrolytes. Drink it in the sauna. Refreshing flavors include grapefruit, citrus, watermelon, and chocolate salt. Formulated with the perfect balance of sodium, potassium, and magnesium to keep you hydrated and energized throughout the day. These minerals help conduct the electricity that powers your nervous system so you can perform at your very best. Element Electrolytes are sugar-free, keto-friendly, and great tasting. Minerals are the stuff of life. So visit drinklmnt.com/tetra and stay salty with Element Electrolytes. LMNT.
Do you feel like the movement that you were part of was the movement after abstract expressionism?
Yeah, I mean, there were, you know, urgings and, you know, things brewing underneath the whole abstract expressionist. Boy, those guys were really painted beautiful pictures, but there was almost like no room to move around them because you can, you know, that's all covered, all these things or these statements that they're making with paint and shapes and all this are kind of so well done by them. Why add to the whole thing?
Yeah.
You know, so it kind of went to the opposite side, which is it kind of leaked into the world of popular culture.
Yeah.
And people were beginning to say, well, maybe the Coca-Cola bottle is not such a bad thing after all. It's a very known thing, and so let's make something of it. And Duchamp also said that too. I mean, he was saying, look around. I mean, there's a lot to see. You might be overlooking the valuable things.
What do you think the first piece of art you ever saw that could be considered pop art?
This, let me see. I'll show you. This is the first thing that got me. Yeah. That's about the actual size of that work. It's a pen and ink drawing by a fairly unknown artist named Johannes Bargild, who was a German Dadaist, 1920, and that's called Beetles. And I saw that thing sort of almost like the size of a postage stamp in a book, you know, and I thought, wow, it just blew me away. And it was so curious. I mean, it looked like, what is that, horses at a starting gate, or what is it? It had such a, almost looked like a science experiment,
Yeah.
or, not meant to be perceived as art, and that's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
So it had a real power to it.
What year did you see this?
1959, 1960. That was made in 1920. And I went, I wanted to see that thing in the raw, so I went to the Museum of Modern Art on my first trip to New York. I made a cold call to the Department of Drawings and just told them I wanted to, if I could see that, and they said, come on up. So,
Cool.
they bring this work out, and show it to me, and I felt like, this is like I've got an audience with the Pope.
Yeah. Yeah. What else did you see on that trip?
That was my first trip to New York, so I'd never been there before. And then I went to Europe after that for about 6 months. And I saw American art in Europe. And I didn't get too inspired by what European artists were doing, even contemporary artists. I didn't see too many that I really liked. But so work like this really had a powerful effect on me. And also Jasper John's work. He painted a target, and then he had these ceramic faces called target and four faces with these, things like this with a little flap that comes down, like a little doorway that comes up, and and I thought, wow, that's another one of these things that is so puzzling. I won't even bother to figure that out.
Yeah.
Why I like it, but I do.
Yeah. Tell me about that feeling of mystery.
Yeah.
Is that what
So
it's
much
all about?
Unexplained. Yeah.
What's the first time you saw any work with type in it?
Picasso painted things like that, and the French surrealists did, and I got pretty moved by that type of work. I liked printing and setting type. I learned how to do that. I worked for a printer and ran the presses, and then that became aesthetic to me. It began to really influence me.
Yeah.
So I made some books from that, and then the idea of making a book into, why can't a book be considered an artwork?
That was a new idea when you had it.
Yeah, it's just a, piling on of all this stuff. You just give your soul to school and to all your friends, and then, every day that you get up and go to school, and every day that you make art, something new is coming into the scene, and you'd be keeping up with what's going on in the neighborhood, Ferus Gallery and all the other galleries too. There were a lot of them. And then there were people who were kind of living out in the sticks, like Bruce Nauman was beginning to show his work there, and Joe Good was showing his work. It was like a vital period.
If you would have come and there were no other artists and you were just by yourself, would it have happened? Or is it having a group of people, I want to say like-minded, even with different ideas, but some thread of going out into the new world,
Yeah. I can't imagine doing the thing by myself, but maybe I encountered something in your book that you also said, but in a different way, which is all art comes out of other art. And so, originality is a vague term.
Yeah.
Total originality. People come along and they're phenomenal, but they're not absolutely immune to trying to understand the world or something.
Yeah. And all of the information we have is stuff we've taken in over the course of our life.
Yeah.
It's not, we don't come in filled with
Right.
ideas or pictures. We come in empty, and then we go through life and see things and fill up this sort of storage.
Yeah. But I guess it's fortunate that we can have opinions about things, because otherwise you wouldn't have things you don't like, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't. And so I would have things that I don't like, and then I don't like that, and yet that would influence me too. And so it all comes together to make up who you are.
Yeah.
So so I see a lot of and people have funny feelings about the art world where they think it's all conspiratorial or something, that only the people who work hard at it, or they don't even have to have that much talent to make a life out of it. But it's not. I see too much, like young artists today, or they're like kamikaze. They're just crash and burn. They're making great works, and but they're out there, and there are younger people who are really, pushing it forward. So it's good to see.
Mm.
Music, same way, huh?
Yeah, it's always changing,
Yeah.
always moving. I can't say it's always better, but there are always new interesting things.
Yeah.
I think in the past, it was more curated because it was harder to put stuff out. So less stuff came out,
Mm.
and the general, like Tom Petty would say, in the 1960s, if you played on a record, you had to be good. You wouldn't get to play on a record if you weren't really good.
Yeah.
Everybody was good.
Yeah.
And now the entry level is lower, so anyone can do it. But from that, really interesting things can happen.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the picture without words that you have at the Getty.
Oh, yeah.
Did you create that piece to live in that space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I took a careful measurements. They gave me this commission to do that, and saying, "There's a wall, do something to it,"
Yeah.
And so
It's
that's
a big wall.
Yeah, it's like 30 feet high,
Yeah.
basically.
Maybe
And
40. It's very tall.
yeah, and it's about 15, 20 feet wide or something,
Yeah.
And so I conceived of this thing that I thought would be really good for an auditorium. Light streaming in from somewhere and smashing to the floor, making a mark on the floor. And it was a big project. It was, we put together these aluminum aircraft skins together to make up this 30 by 15 foot surface to stretch canvas on. So it was very heavy, and I had to work on it in the studio I had in Venice. And I did a time study on it because light was coming in continuously throughout the day, and it would blast on the wall and go down like this. And so we did a time study with natural sunlight, and that was a technique that they had invented at the General Motors company, I think,
For what?
to study automobile paints. And they have a
Interesting.
way of doing a time study on something, and they can tell you how much damage or how much light is going to happen over a 150-year time.
Wow.
And so they ran this over there, and it was it taught me a lot, I guess, but then I didn't want it to interfere with my idea.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. That painting is about 25 years old now,
Really?
and I don't see anything changed about it at all.
Yeah. You talk about the light coming in and hitting the floor, smashing the floor. When I see the image, I see the light. So it's interesting to hear you describe it as there's an opening and where it lands.
A painting of that magnitude, size, was a little tricky. So I had a studio in Venice that had a 30-foot ceiling, but this painting would not quite fit that. So
Yeah.
I painted it on its side,
Yeah.
and I was always looking like this. I've got a picture of my son, Eddie, and we're both looking at a painting like this.
Was the first time you saw it upright in the museum?
Yeah.
Was there ever a consideration to paint it there, or was that not possible?
No, it wasn't possible. I mean, someone would have come out of the woodwork and done something, yes. They
Yeah.
would have used that and painted on the wall, but
Yeah.
I couldn't see doing it that way. I wanted a mobile something I could paint off-site and then install. It just made better sense.
Did you ever consider painting it in a way that you could take it apart and put it together?
You know, I thought about that, but I didn't like those joints.
Yeah. Yeah.
It had to be in one piece, so that's the way it got to be, and so it was painted on its side, yeah. And I had a cot that I was always looking at it, so I just lay down on this cot. And then to install it I luckily had a fabricator, Ron McPherson, who really knew how to. He prepared the canvas for me and put it on this, and put it on this aircraft, aluminum aircraft skin, with armature behind it and a frame and everything. And then to move it, it took 2 forklift trucks to lift, lift them a little bit like.
Wow.
And to get it in place. And then somehow they had a complicated setup of bolts that held this thing in place. You have to have some fabricator with ideas to know how to pull something like that off.
Yeah.
That's why I always admire artists who make giant things in factories and, with fabricators. And Jeff Koons, a lot of people don't like his work, but if they looked at the fabrication of his work, it is top quality.
Yeah, the detail's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Tell me how size of an image impacts it. What's the difference between the same image, big versus small?
Yeah, I always had, even working like a size like this, I would get into a habit for convenience and just the physicality of it. I liked little works. And even I'd get works that were tiny like this. I like tiny things too. And so every time I approach a work that I think I want to make, I kind of, something pushes me in the direction of size, and I'll say that'll work better if it's just like half size rather than 6 feet by 8 feet,
And just an inner knowing?
Yeah, or something says, how am I going to learn from this thing unless it overpowers me? I want that thing I want a wall rocket.
Yeah. How is it different making a piece like the example in the Getty to live in a certain place versus a piece that's going to just be shown where it's going to be shown? Is that different?
Not in the making of it, and there are not many works of art I make that I ever have any notion of where that thing's going to end up.
So usually it's going to go where it's going to go.
Yeah. But I've worked on commissions too, where I did a library in Miami in 1985 that involved 60 paintings that were like 6 feet by 12 feet, and then a circular rotunda of about 6, words without thoughts never to heaven go. That's 7 words from Hamlet, and so I painted 1 word on each one, and it was joined together. Each one was joined and sort of painted on aluminum with canvas mounted to aluminum, and then we would bend it into place in this circular opening. So sometimes the colors would jar with each other and they wouldn't continue on, it wasn't continuous. And that's an example of where I knew where these things were going to go.
Yeah.
And they're now in place.
Yeah.
That was about, 1985. So now that building was brand new, designed by Philip Johnson, and now they're thinking about, it's lived its life. Well, what's going to happen with my artwork?
Yeah.
And I go back and look at the contract, and it doesn't really cover me on anything.
It's not protected.
I wonder what's going to happen to that. I mean, it'd be nice if they gave me those back, but I don't know what they're going to do.
Or maybe a museum would buy it and build a
Yeah, possible.
installation. Something. I don't think it'll just go away.
Yeah.
How important are the words you use?
They've got to have some kind of temperature to them or anonymity to them, or it's got to be a 2 or 3 word combinations or single words like spam. And I like that because it had an explosive sound to it. They're like utterings that had a noise quotient to them.
Does how the letters look matter as well?
Yeah. And then I was into typefaces and things like that, that I felt like that's got to be part of the art. And then it moved on from there. But it was just like, I like the way words go across a canvas and, you know, your eyes are set like this and they read from left to right. That's right. And so it became almost like a landscape. So I
Yeah.
was picturing landscape. I mean, even if I look out onto this lawn right here, I'm seeing a kind of a horizontal activity here that I'm picking up with my eyes, and I like that. So
Yeah.
I like landscape painting. So maybe I could see this landscape horizontal where words would just be sitting on the landscape. So, and then they became the landscape.
You have your Hollywood sign painting that's really wide.
Yeah, that was a kind of an example. I lived over on Western Avenue and Santa Monica Boulevard, and I would check out that Hollywood sign every day, and that was like a thermometer, you know, a weather vane or something. If I couldn't read that sign, I knew I don't want to stay outside. It's too smoggy.
And do you remember the thought of painting it from behind?
Maybe I got the idea by looking in the mirror or just accidentally seeing the painting in a mirror, and the painting was behind me. So I thought, well, it's not an unlivable kind of image, is it?
Yeah.
It's got some substance to it, and painting it from the back, it's kind of like a ode to the rear view mirror or something like that.
Yeah. Also feels like it could be telling a story about Hollywood, like
Yeah.
behind the scenes or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It definitely creates a question mark when you look at it.
Just looking at it from afar was not enough for me, so I would go up there to the Hollywood sign. Back then, you could just walk right up to it and climb around it and do. It was really shoddy, made out of pieces of tin, I guess, on what looked like telephone poles. I think it's probably a lot of those poles are still holding the existing sign today. So I felt like, well, yeah, I see it from afar, but now I'm touching it.
I remember paintings you've done where we're looking at something and we start moving to the side, and now we're seeing it from the side view and even further side view, and sometimes where you can barely make out what it is anymore because we're so close to parallel to the image.
Yeah.
Tell me about the idea of perspective in general.
I liked the concept of baseline perspective where, and I think it came from movies. And I would see movies as a kid, and there would always be some scene with the characters in the movie. They're traveling somewhere, and so they show you a little train, and the train always starts way off to the side, and it's tiny down here.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon it goes, you know, so wow, that's panoramic, isn't it? And so I wanted to do some panoramic study, and also I would always see this 20th Century Fox logo and wanted to go ahead and complete its diminishment,
Yeah.
you know. And so it was
You made
like
it three-dimensional, essentially.
yeah, yeah. And it was almost like one of those freight trains or passenger trains that zooms in from the right-hand corner and completely takes over the left-hand corner.
Yeah.
So it's like a megaphonic kind of experience.
Did 20th Century Fox ever use your version?
No.
Really?
No.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, I rarely got any pushback from anybody, even Standard Station. You know, I had this idea about gas stations, and I always liked gas stations and the architecture of it, and even for a while pictured myself, I could live in one of those gas stations.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
It's got, the canopy was so great, and you
Mhm.
park your car under the canopy, you know, and then there's a little house
Yeah.
you could live in it.
Yes.
I love that concept. So I was just, you know, that was an extension of somewhere I thought I might want to live.
In a world of artificial highs and harsh stimulants, there is something different, something clean, something precise. Athletic nicotine. Not the primitive products found behind convenience store counters. Not the aggressive buzz that leaves you jittery, but a careful calibration of clean energy and focused clarity. Athletic nicotine. The lowest dose tobacco-free nicotine available, made entirely in the USA. No artificial sweetener, just pure, purposeful elevation. Athletic nicotine is a performance nootropic. Athletic nicotine is a tool for shifting mindsets. Athletic nicotine is a partner in pursuit of excellence. Slow release, low dose, gradual lift, sustained energy, soft landing, inspired results. Athletic nicotine, more focus, less static. Athletic nicotine, more clarity, less noise. Athletic nicotine, more accuracy, less anxiety. Athletic nicotine, from top athletes pushing their limits to artists pursuing their vision. Athletic nicotine offers the lift you've been looking for. Learn more at athleticnicotine.com/tetra and experience next level performance with Athletic Nicotine.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Tell me about the way California has changed over the course of your life.
I came out here, it was, I do remember, I mean, there was a specific thing, as I was reading a Look magazine, and there was an article about Los Angeles, and it said that there was this was like 1956 or 7, there was a net gain of 1,000 people a day. So, boy, if 500 people in LA left, that would mean 1,500 people would have to come in, and that was just, to me, phenomenal then. That, God, 1,000 people a day net gain. That's astounding, you know.
Wow.
But I like the old neighborhoods in downtown LA, and you know, I lived over in Silver Lake and Echo Park, Hollywood, and I see now when I drive over there, I see entire blocks gone. You
Yeah.
know, they've been swept clean, and you know what's coming: aircraft carriers. God, and so I see great change in the city,
Yeah.
and a lot of the really pretty old buildings are gone, or they're ready to be gone. You know,
Yeah.
I'm surprised Musso Franks is still there.
Yeah. You did the photo book that opens up of the two
Mhm.
sides of Sunset Boulevard. I remember I bought that right when I moved to California, before I even knew your work. And my plan was to have the two sides framed to put on either side of a hallway, because I lived right on Sunset Boulevard. It was a place that I romanticized about because it was the 60s in California,
Yeah.
Sunset Strip. For people who like music, it was a very important time.
Pandora's box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
How did the idea come to do it in that fashion?
You know, maybe it's some romantic connections to words again, like sunset. I didn't realize that there was going to be, I was going to come to LA and find that there was an actual Sunset Boulevard,
Yeah.
you know, so,
Yeah.
and then, wow, they also give you a sunset. So, and then that became a kind of a target for this activity I had going in my mind to photograph buildings, and just for posterity's sake, or just as a kind of a, you're acting like a reporter, you know, and you're capturing what's out there and bringing it back, printing it on paper. So I've been doing that for years, and they've got a website at the Getty called 12 Sunsets. And if you get on that, it'll show you, they've taken my photography over the past 50 years and made, you can look at what it looked like, what a building looked like in 1966 and one in 86,
Great.
96. And if you want to know how many synagogues there are on Sunset Boulevard, bang, 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 it just, if you want to know how many dry cleaners, bang, bang, bang. And I thought that's a piece of information that is beyond imagination.
Yeah.
You know, that they're able to do something like that. But there
So
was a
cool.
team of people that got all that, the pictures together, the photography, and then studied it. And so it's like an archaeological study.
Yeah. When you did your first one, did you have any thoughts about the future, or no? You felt like this is just documenting the moment?
No, I had notions about what it would be like, and then of course I didn't know.
Yeah. Can't know.
So, but the possibility was always out there, and I like the absurdity of it.
What can you and can't you learn in art school?
Maybe one of these things that you can learn is that there shouldn't really be any rules.
Yeah.
And all possibilities are out there. That kind of disturbs some people because they like to have their thinking grounded in reason instead of absurdity or possible, things out there in space. And luckily, I was around a lot of students that also were in kind of a competitive sense inspiring each other. And we didn't get everything we learned from the instructors. We did learned a lot from them, but we learned a lot by just being around each other,
Yeah.
competing and, making pictures and crazy art. And
Yeah.
so it was good for all that.
The fine art world became mainstream. It was not when you were starting. Like, no one went into art when you started going into art thinking it's a serious career. It might be
No.
something to do,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like, I'm going to be successful doing this thing.
No. And it was it didn't promise you a successful career like they do today. I mean, and you go to art school today, and there's all kinds of commercial possibilities to spin off into that you can make a living from. But
Yeah.
we just wanted to make art, and till we spit blood.
Yeah. Yeah. It was almost deciding not to pursue anything that could be successfll.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah. I mean, or that would be, condescending, or where you'd be edging into the world of commercial art or something like that. That was frowned on, I guess. Yeah. I mean, but, then a lot of people we all made a living from it, and I make a living from it. So,
Yeah.
but I'm still kind of in a state of wonderment trying to figure the whole thing out.
Yeah. I read that one of your paintings 8 or 10 years ago now sold at auction for $50-something million. And do you know which painting I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, from its inception, when you made it, what was the reaction to it? When it originally sold, what it sold for, if you remember?
Mm-hmm.
And then the life story of this painting.
Yeah. It was painted about 1965, I guess. It was a painting called Radio. I painted the word radio, and then I somehow wanted to take some carpenter's C-clamps and pinch these letters just to aggravate the theme.
Yeah.
And so I believe I had I showed these things at the Ferus Gallery, and I didn't sell them. I didn't sell anything for quite a while, But then eventually, I think maybe 10 years later or something, I sold it for probably $500, and out of that I got $250,
Yeah.
which I had to pay taxes on.
Yeah. And then do you know what happened to it after that?
Yeah, it was bought by Jack Quinn, who was an attorney, and he helped a lot of artists out. And he bought the painting, and they had it in their home for years and years, and then it was sold after he died. And he was a proponent for 10% resale royalty for artists, for unique works of art, and which never really became law. They tried to invent this thing that every time work was sold, artist gets 10% of it. But it
never
took
came to
hold for a
pass.
little bit here
Yeah.
in the state of California, and then they voted it out. So, of course, when that sold and I heard about that, I wanted to say, "Where's my cut?"
Yeah.
But there wasn't any. So
Yeah.
that's the folly of it all.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that if someone would pay that for that work, maybe your other works might be worth something.
I guess so. It's supposed to work that way, not always, but
Oh, so I asked you about the mainstreaming of art. When do you think it got taken seriously in the public?
well, a change in attitude, I guess, that goes from generation to generation. You had the abstract expressionists before that. You had, well, you might say Ashcan School or New York School of Painting, and that lasted into 30s and 40s. And you had French surrealism come in there, and then Picasso was always working at that time, and so it was always evolving into newer and different things. And it's like the music world, I guess. The art world and the music world is a lot alike. And you might say literature too, I guess. There's just these waves of people coming and going, and creating new things, and it's pretty active. It's pretty active in the audience out there, and the people who are producing it, the artists. There's no shortage of them.
I read that you were included in the first ever pop art exhibition in Pasadena in 1962. What do you remember about that time?
That was an exhibit put together by Walter Ops, and he was at that time the director of the Pasadena Art Museum. It's a really kind of eclectic, out of the way museum to have, and he was I mean, you'd be around him for 5 minutes and you'd realize that this guy's for real, and he had something to say.
Yeah.
It was like a real experience to be around this guy. And he had a way of, well, first of all, he would bum a cigarette from me, and he'd walk back and forth, puffing this cigarette, and then as he's walking back and forth, speaking and saying great things as he's walking back and forth. And when he leaves the room, you realize you've learned something.
Wow. That's great.
And so he put all this together. He put that show together, and I felt honored to be in it. It was good. And I felt like a lot of these other artists that were in that show they shared some common sympathies, an openness to the world of commerce, the pop culture and what's happening in the world today.
Yeah.
And choosing subjects that are figurative instead of abstract like they were for years.
Yeah.
And which was great art too. The abstract expressionists and all those people, abstract painting. And there's still abstract painters today that are pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else was in that show in '62? Do you remember?
Joe Good was in there. I grew up with him. He was an altar boy in my church. He was sort of like the altar boy with a black eye, like you'd see in Norman Rockwell paintings.
Yeah.
And Andy Warhol. And Roy Lichtenstein.
Had you seen Roy's work before that exhibit?
Yeah, Roy Lichtenstein. Yeah.
Where would you have seen it?
I saw that at the in 1961 at the Leo Castelli Gallery.
Mm.
I was in Europe and painted a bunch of little pictures about that size, and wanted to show them to Leo Castelli, and I respected him. He had a real good gallery, and he said, "Let me show you in the back room. Go back there," and there was a painting there of somebody named Roy Lichtenstein. I never heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know him. He was a good friend.
Yeah.
Finally, but it was a picture of tennis shoes. Yeah, and I just felt like, oh God, that's hard to look at.
Yeah.
That hurts, you
Yeah.
know, and it's aggravating, and it's so terrible, and then it's got some possibility to it, and then damn, that thing might be profound.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
I
Sneaks
love
up
that
on
painting
you.
of
Yeah, you
the
love
tennis
it.
shoes,
Yeah.
you know, that he would, and he did, all of his art was made that way. You know, he had a way of seeing the world through kind of comic book eyes.
Yeah.
And he took that and ran with it, and had a very good, besides career of it. I mean, he created some really great works.
Mm. You talked about your trip to Europe and not really feeling the European art as much as the American art. Was there anything about the place that you remember about Europe that spoke to you?
I went all over. I went through Spain, and I just, you know, I love this. San Sebastian, Spain, and went to Barcelona, Madrid, and I bought a Duchamp. You know those cars?
I think so.
Yeah,
It's a little
Citroen.
it's a little teeny car.
Looks like a throwaway vehicle.
Yeah.
Real tinny, and it got like 60 miles to the gallon of gas. And I drove all over Europe and the British Isles too.
Wow.
And
It looks kind of like a Volkswagen Bug, but smaller and like a toy version of a Volkswagen Bug.
and it was very flimsy. I mean, it was like paper thin. I mean, I haven't seen one in LA for a long time.
No, not in a long time.
Yeah, but Europe was, you know, I went to the museums over there, and I learned quite a bit by seeing the museums. I didn't get so much, influence from all these historical artists. I didn't get so much from that, but I mean, I was more into what was happening in America.
It had moved at the time that you were,
Yeah,
like it does. It always moves around, you know?
yeah.
Have you used any unusual materials over the years?
I was using oil paint for a long time, and then I felt like I was putting a skin on a surface, you know, and that I wanted to do something else, like stain the surface in some way or other. And so I started using gunpowder, which is charcoal and sulfur, and instead of using graphite, gunpowder I was able to make an image with it and correct it if I made a mistake, easy to correct. Not so much with graphite, but and then I started staining things with grass cut from the, you know, and rubbing the grass in, and axle grease and caviar and things like that made images. And but I didn't know about the lastability of them or anything like that.
Do you know if they survived?
Yeah, they mostly have. Yeah. And but I made a Hollywood image out of Pepto-Bismol. If you leave that out in the open, it's eventually, I mean, it's almost 50 years old, and the image is still there, but it's faded a little bit, you know? So no customer guarantee.
Yeah. Are there any themes that you've returned to over the years?
The main theme would be words, I guess, that persist right up to today. And I'm looking at it a little like it's Well, could I call it poetry? Is that too ambitious to call it poetry or what? But I find myself making these little word things, and they mean something to me, and but I don't think too much about it.
Yeah. There was a period where you were using parts of words or letters were left out.
I did a few things like that, but then that began to it made me question what I'm doing, and are
Yeah.
you deliberately leaving these letters out
Yeah.
or
Seemed
chopping this word?
too much of a choice.
Yeah.
How's your relationship to making art changed over the course of your life?
Well, I'm surprised that I'm still at it,
Yeah.
and physically I can handle it, and it's but I still have the same motivation and belief in it. I'm not distracted from the many things that are out there. I see that the world's full of cacophony, noise, and visual and otherwise, and so I maintain my love of doing it. So
Yeah.
stop the presses.
Yeah. What's the feeling you get when you finish a piece?
Usually I know when I'm finished.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll stop a little early and then say, don't go out, don't go any further.
Yeah.
Uh, and and it just has to kind of round itself out. Every so often I'll start something and then I've got to tear it up,
Yeah.
start over again.
Tell me about life in the desert.
I started going out there. In the late 40s, I had this friend named Harry Cohn who his father had a movie studio uh, called Columbia Pictures, and somehow he was given this property inside of Joshua Tree National Park, but he lived back in these enormous boulders with a house built in the 1930s,
Wow.
and it still exists.
Sounds great.
Yeah, yeah, it's down a little dirt road inside the park. There's a few privately owned parcels inside the park, and I just said, "Oh, Ma, this is just great." I mean, the Joshua trees and all this, and I found a property that I got up near Pioneer Town. It's high desert, so it's like 5,000 feet, and then so I got this place in '75 and
Great.
started building a house out there, and finally it took about 4 or 5 years to build this house. And I go out there all the time, so I'll go out for like a week or 10 days, and then
Yeah.
I don't usually make much art out there because I go out there and I read, or I take care of little repairs, things
Yeah.
like that. Events of plain living.
When you're out there, do you see many people or is it more?
No, you don't see anybody around. I mean, I've got a neighbor maybe that's a mile away,
Yeah.
and that I never see, and so it's remote, and
Sounds great.
for all that, it's great to have it be remote like that.
Yeah.
I don't go out there and look at the landscape and want to take impressions from it and make art from it. So I don't really do that. So, but it's just it's a living thing, that habitual kind of routine that I find myself in, that I love doing.
You think it's what you see or the silence?
Silence has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very remote and good for that reason.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Tell me the timeline from an idea for a work until you have a finished work, typically, or is there no typical?
I don't often have a notion to do something where it takes me, where I'm forced to put it off for a while and still keep on to the idea. So I usually get onto things soon, but then I mean, it's sometimes I'll work on a painting for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I did one of the Los Angeles County Museum on Fire, and
Yeah.
I would paint on that thing for a couple of months, and then I'd put it away for 6 months and paint on it for a while, and then put it away for another period of time. And so it's not like something that has a deadline to it.
Yeah. So would you say there were always works in progress around?
Yeah, yeah. Right now I have about 4 or 5 things that I kind of put aside, but it's there to look at.
Yeah.
But I know I've got progress to make on it, but
Yeah.
I'll do it when I get to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Understand?
Yeah. Are there any that start and finish and they just happen?
Yeah, I'll do that with things that are simple or involve 1 or 2 colors or things like that that I feel like are right. But generally, I start working on something and I stick with it until it's done.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you remember the initial thought behind the Museum on Fire painting?
I mean, the angle of the museum, the way it was in the picture, is really doing the same thing as that 20th Century Fox
Yeah.
or the Standard Station.
Perspective, the feeling
Yeah,
of
the
perspective.
perspective. It goes from lower right-hand corner to upper left-hand corner, and the slope of the building and everything. And then you get up here and you've got a fire happening in and then over here you've got this green placid lawn or whatever it is. And so you got the hot spot over here and you almost could fall asleep over here.
Do you remember the instant of it's going to be on fire?
Yeah, I'd use the idea of fire in certain things, and I made a book called Various Small Fires, and I've got no unreasonable attachment to fires, but I felt like they were like additional things in a picture. So, and they were very colorful, so you'd have this blast of light happening over here.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with the museum started with a helicopter ride that I took over LA. And we somehow fell into somebody said, "You want to take it?" Yeah, sure. And I'll take my Polaroid camera with me. And we went all over LA in a period of like 45 minutes. And you could see the entire city, and you see thousands and thousands of swimming pools.
Yeah.
And then we somehow came around over by the LA County Museum, and I took some pictures of it. And I always felt like it was a authority figure, in some ways,
Yeah.
and that maybe this is my statement against this authority figure.
Yeah.
Let it burn. And so, it became that and a combination of just wanting to paint a picture.
Yeah.
Just the idea of keeping my hands busy.
Yeah. Has that painting ever shown at that museum?
Yeah, it was about 3 months ago. It was in my exhibit there at the county museum.
Fantastic. Would you say you're always working?
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I don't take vacation breaks so much. I'm not really into that. I don't want to work. I mean, I do like my studio, and so I find a kind of security in just being around the way I work, and there always seems to be something urgently needs to be worked on and thought about.
Yeah. Is there a typical time of day you like to paint?
Usually during the day, sometimes at night, and phone doesn't ring, things like that. And that can be uplifting.
Do you ever get into something and it's going well and you just go for a long time?
Yeah, where I know that I'm into something that's just time consuming.
Yeah. Yeah. When you have a work that's a series of images, let's say the gas station book, tell me about what goes into a sequence.
It's a evolving kind of thing that that sometimes is just you make these decisions, and if I have 26 photographs in front of me, how do I know where they're going to go and how they fit together? And it's there's no common uh, game plan, anything like that.
You move them around and see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, it's a matter of moving around. It's almost like making a collage in
Yeah.
a way. And then there's a kind of a routine that I don't want to be too sensible
Yeah.
or too aggressive or too ununderstandable.
Yeah. Do you ever put limitations on your work?
I think I do, and probably usually when I do, I don't know it, what I'm doing.
Yeah. Do you ever say, I'm only going to work in black and white, for example, or I'm only going to make it can't be bigger than this size?
When I was in school, I admired Franz Klein
Yeah.
because he chose to work only in black and white, mostly.
Mhm.
And I thought, God, what a commitment to that. I liked the commitment as well as I did the work of art. And everybody had respect for Marcel Duchamp when he said, hey, I'm not going to paint anymore.
Yeah.
And that was like 1925.
Yeah.
He said, I'm making no more art. I mean, he broke his rule there. He was making little things all along, but the idea of saying, standing up to the world saying, I'm not going to make any more art. I mean, it taught us something. I don't know what.
Yeah. I've heard you say, I'll paraphrase incorrectly, but something about certain works are touched by angels. You've had that experience. Tell me what you meant by it, and tell me a work that you think was touched by angels.
I might think of, the book I did called 26 Gasoline Stations, I thought was off by itself, and it didn't nod to the world of painting or bookmaking or anything in any respect.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, where the angels live.
Oh.
Maybe that was touched by angels. I don't know. Probably what I was thinking of.
Yeah. I like it. I like thinking about it.
Yeah. And then every so often I think about nonverbal communication, how
Yeah.
you can, always reminded me of when they were going to interview Thelonious Monk and for a music magazine, and I think he said, okay, I'll do it if I can bring a friend along with me. And they said, okay, sure. Yeah, and so the interviewer is saying, Mr. Monk, what do you think about country and Western music? He doesn't say anything. Long period of time, and the interview, was Mr. Monk, what do you think about cowboy music? Country and Western music. Still no answer. And then Monk turns to his friend and says, do you think that guy's hard of hearing?
Incredible. That's amazing. Amazing. What would you say the most beautiful place on earth you've ever been?
San Francisco. I visited there as a kid back in the late 1940s with my folks, and we drove through there, and we had some relatives there. And so San Francisco, and every time I go there, I say, this is the most beautiful city in the world.
Do you think the hills have something to do with it?
The kind of mystery of it, the Chinatown, the bridges,
Victorian houses.
yeah, the houses and everything about it. It's just got this kind of romantic, Dashiell Hammett kind of flavor to it that is, I really feel like it is the most beautiful city in the world.
Yeah.
But then, nature, of course. I mean, places that you go where there's like silence, like the desert. Well, that's beautiful too.
You never had the calling to move to San Francisco?
No.
Why do you think?
I don't know. It's better to live. I mean, to visit there.
Yeah.
Like I love New York, but I go there on my own terms, and
Yes.
I see my friends, and then I get out of town.
Yeah.
And so but if I had to live there, I think it would be a different set of circumstances for an
Yeah.
artist to live there and then have to bring materials to your studio and get a 2x4 across town without, boy, what a issue that is. And
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I like the idea of Southern California.
Yeah. Anything else you can think of that'd be good for us to talk about that we didn't cover, that you want to talk about?
I thought we covered everything.
Okay.
No, but you're still producing music, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Produce music. I'm always making stuff. It's like
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great feeling. And you wonder what you would do if that weren't there for you.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I love making things.
Yeah.
And I can't say I always love the act of making things, but
Uh-huh.
I love the idea and then seeing it come into the world.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. But sometimes the stuff in between is just exhausting.
Yeah, the means to an end can be a
Yeah.
burden.
It's true.
Yeah. And sometimes you just want the end result.
Yeah.
I felt like that with a lot of my work.
We
So-
just want to see it. You
I
want to
just
see the
wanna
good
see it.
version
I
of
want
it.
to get to the end of it rather than the turmoil to get there.
Yeah. Richard Prince said, say hello, by the way. I talked to him yesterday.
Yeah.
I told him I was going to see you, and he's like, he said, he's one of my favorites, and he really inspired me a lot. Forever.
He said some trouble with plagiarism. People call him a plagiarist. Well, I don't, I'll take his side on that.
Yeah.
You know, he borrows things from popular culture and makes art out of them. I mean,
That's how all art is made.
that's what we do. Yeah.
The Beatles listen to Chuck Berry and Little
Yeah.
Richard and then do their version. That's how it's done.
Yeah.
I can ask you this. Let me ask you, curators, collectors, and artists. Tell me about the mindset of those three different categories of people.
Collectors are a curious kind. They have, their minds are off in different directions. The artist is thinking only of himself, not so much where he fits into this thing, but, and then curators have a particular knowledge of, I was lucky enough to work with the man that is now the director of Museum of Modern Art in New York, Christophe Cherie. And he curated an exhibit of mine that was up about 1.5 years ago there. And he wanted to see every work that I did, and he only would put it in the exhibit if he could see it in person. He had to see that thing in person.
Wow.
He says, so if I can't go to that collector's house and see it on a wall, well, I'm not interested in borrowing it. I've got to see that thing in person. And so the personal contact with a curator is essential,
Yeah.
and he's that way. He's one of those kind of people.
Are most curators open to collaboration with the artist?
Yeah, well, this man certainly was, and he wouldn't put something in the show that I didn't approve of, or why should I care what he puts in his exhibit? But I did kind of like have a few choices along the way, and he worked with me
Supportive.
on that.
Great.
So I was lucky to have him.
Yeah. Are you ever surprised seeing your art up next to other artists? Do you ever get any kind of either a good or bad feeling about it?
I mean, I've seen my work in exhibits alongside other people, and I might get a tug from it, a laugh out of it.
Yeah.
Just the curiosity of these two supposedly thoughtful artists.
Yeah. It sounds like you have fun doing what you're doing.
Yeah, Oh, yeah, I don't think I would if I didn't have fun with it. No, I do that. So every so often, something will come up that requires a lot of labor and concentration. So that might make me think and make me want to say, "Oh God, I've got to do that now." But I generally I get with it and I like it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Would you say that once you have the idea, you feel in service to the idea?
I've got a notion of what I think the idea is going to be,
Yeah.
you know, and then the execution of it will be something else. Sometimes I don't know which way it's going to go.
Mm-hmm. Do you do sketches?
Yeah, I do a lot of little writings and sometimes sketches, and they can be misleading. They can distort your thinking, but I like to do that. You know, when I'm at a restaurant or something. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, but
What might be something you would write?
it might be lately I've just done. We'll think of doorways. You know, a drawing of a doorway and at an angle, and what that might be, or imagining that as being a bigger work, like a bigger painting,
Yeah.
as a first step towards a painting.
Yeah. And
So
would you say it always starts with something you actually see in the world?
sometimes I'll get an inspiration from other artists. There's a Danish artist named Hammershoy, William Hammershoy. He painted these kind of sad-looking interior paintings in 1900 or something. But somehow I saw this wainscoting inside of a room and the kind of architecture around the doorway and all that, and I say sometime I don't know, maybe I'll visit that and
Yeah.
see if I can push that along.
Yeah.
And yet it's going to look nothing like his
No.
work,
Yeah.
you know, but it'll be a trigger.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's an interesting thing when you see work that an artist does, it opens possibilities of what can happen.
yeah,
Like, well, he made a left turn. What happens if we go right? You know, what
Yeah.
happens if we go up?
yeah, instead of down. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe down is the way to go.
maybe.
Well, you can crash going down, can't you?
Yeah, but maybe that's good. Maybe we want to crash.
Yeah.
You never know. How often do you start something and then decide this is not going to work?
Usually it's in the early stage.
Yeah.
So I don't set aside a canvas and then start on it, and then it's always a little different. But I can usually stop something early if I don't have some kind of hope for it.
Yeah. Most things, if you get off to a poor start, do you find that it corrects and turns into something that you like?
Yeah, with sometimes it's an accident that, you know, almost like falls on your foot and you
Yeah.
don't realize what's happened, and then
Yeah.
this accident is damn, it's good, you know. I mean, you put the wrong color on there, but wow, something is different and something happened that
Yeah.
you either learn from or you hit upon, and you didn't start out that way. You didn't really want that to happen, but it's an accident. So accidents are great. People
Yeah.
don't realize that accidents are a vital part of things.
How much of the whole enterprise would you say is intellectual?
What did Yogi Berra say? Baseball is 99% intellectual, and the other half is physical.
Yeah.
Tetragrammatin is a podcast. Tetragrammatin is a website. Tetragrammatin is a whole world of knowledge.
What may fall within the sphere of Tetragrammatin? Counterculture? Tetragrammatin. Sacred geometry? Tetragrammatin. The avant-garde? Tetragrammatin. Generative art? Tetragrammatin. The tarot? Tetragrammatin. Out-of-print music? Tetragrammatin. Biodynamics? Tetragrammatin. Graphic design? Tetragrammatin. Mythology and magic? Tetragrammatin. Obscure film? Tetragrammatin. Beach culture? Tetragrammatin. Esoteric lectures? Tetragrammatin. Off-the-grid living? Tetragrammatin. Alt spirituality? Tetragrammatin. The canon of fine objects? Tetragrammatin. Muscle cars? Tetragrammatin. Ancient wisdom for a new age. Upon entering, experience the artwork of the day. Take a breath and see where you are drawn.